Exposed. The haunted rules every mechanic in Ohio fears discover the sinister truth. The storm lashed against Chesterfield, Ohio, an unrelenting beast that echoed through the creaking buildings of the town. The lightning struck, illuminating Lisa Jensen's garage in flashes, revealing twisted shadows that danced malevolently on the walls. She gripped her wrench tightly, heart pounding, as the tools in front of her began to act up. Wrenches slipped from her hands, each clang sounding like a warning. The flickering lights pulsed as if mocking her efforts. Lisa swore under her breath, trying to push away the creeping dread around her. "Come on, focus," she muttered to herself. But the eerie tales of the vanished mechanic, the soul rumored to haunt Chesterfield, slithered into her mind. He had vanished decades ago, leaving only whispers of sorrow that filled the diner like thick smoke. Customers' faces, once friendly, morphed now, naively riddled with a fear she couldn't quite place. The stories, once amusing tales told over coffee, now felt like chains of dread wrapping tighter around her. Desperately, Lisa brushed aside the worries and cycled through the routine, pouring her energy into her work. But the air hung heavy with something dark, knowing. The surefire sounds of clanking metal turned into whispers in her ear. As she tightened a bolt under the hood, cold sweat dripped down her back. She looked around, the shadows seeming to stretch ever closer, invading the comforting sanctuary she had built. She fought the doubts rising in her chest and focused on Mia, her rebellious daughter lost in her teenage chaos. "Just one more car, just until the weekend," she murmured, barely convincing herself. Still, with each passing hour, the weight in the air felt thicker, more ominous. Then there was that call. A strange voice, garbled through static, warned her that the past had returned, seeking its lost vengeance. The line went dead, leaving only silence that roared like thunder in her ears. She felt the dark eyes of the storm outside boring into her, sensing an ethereal presence lurking just beyond her door. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." The lights dimmed again, plunging her into darkness, the thundering storm outside rumbling like an angry beast. Lisa's eyes flickered to the small window, the sheets of rain cascading like a curtain, blurring reality. She felt it, a cold breath against her neck, as if the darkness itself had come alive. The garage transformed into a prison of chilling dread. She sensed shadows shifting, closing in. Each tick of the clock echoed louder, taunting her resolve. "I want to be scared," she whispered, but even she heard a tremor in her voice. The old stories swirled like autumn leaves in her mind, casting doubt about the foundations she thought were solid. But what if there was a truth buried deeper, a truth that connected her, Mia, and the haunted past of Chesterfield? As Lisa stood frozen in fear, the echoing silence broke into a low, despairing moan, a haunting cry that slithered through the walls. It was then she understood. Some secrets refused to rest. With shadows swirling at the edges of her vision, Lisa was left teetering on the threshold of the unknown, heart racing. The storm outside raged on, mirroring the tempest unfurling within her. What awaited her if she dared to confront the fear weaving through her life? Would uncovering the sinister truth be worth the clutches of fate now closing in around her? The garage door rattled violently, a gust of wind crashing against it like a warning from the void outside. Lisa pushed her back against the workbench, the cool metal digging into her skin as she tried to steady her breath. She could feel something shifting in the dark, lurking in the corners, waiting for her to let her guard down. The air felt charged, as if the storm itself conspired with whatever mysteries whispered just beyond her line of sight. Suddenly, a loud bang echoed through the garage, the sound of metal colliding. Her heart raced as horror spiked through her veins. "Mia," she shouted, but the words hung in the stillness, swallowed by the howling wind. Panic lodged in her throat, twisting, suffocating. She mustered the courage to inch closer to the door leading to the back office, praying that her daughter was still inside and safe. Mom. Mia's voice came through the crack at the door, a tremor weaving through the syllables. Lisa's heart soared momentarily, then plummeted as she heard the fear. Stay there. Don't come out. Lisa breathed heavily, straining to listen. The whispered sounds had returned, now disjointed phrases threading through the air like a disorganized melody. Help me, don't let her in. Shivers crawled up her spine, the words resonating in her core. Unspoken dread clawed at her insides. Who? Who is asking for help? She whispered, not knowing if she wanted an answer. The lights flickered violently twice, then dimmed to a dull glow that barely illuminated the garage. The shadows now boasted limbs, twisting and curling around her, beckoning her into their embrace. She shook her head, desperate to clear it, but the dread seeped deeper into her thoughts. What if the stories about the mechanic had roots buried even closer to home than she realized? I just need to finish the last job, she urged herself, refusing to yield to the encroaching atmosphere. She focused her gaze on the car before her, a vintage Mustang pride and joy when the world felt safer. The dashboard seemed to breathe with life, glimmering chrome under the weak light, yet it now appeared as a sinister portal into the unknown. A loud thud echoed again, this time from inside the car. Her instincts screamed at her to run, but her feet stayed rooted, heart thrumming against her ribs. With one trembling hand, she reached out, feeling the cold metal of the start-up button. Turn it on. The shadows seemed to whisper urgently. You need it. You need us. A flash of despair flickered in her chest, a simple choice laying heavy on her shoulders. To ignite the old engine was to risk awakening spirits that should remain undisturbed. But standing here in the dim light, shadows closing in, it felt like bondage. What did she truly want to do? Shelter herself in ignorance, or face the truth that clawed at her sanity? Just then, the lights blinked off completely, plunging her into inky blackness. The wind roared, and thunder cracked, echoing through her very bones. The panic surged, and she lunged toward the car. The hum of something coming alive beneath her touch sent tremors through her, as if it knew her, recognized her fear. Would it awaken the vengeful spirit? Or would it serve as her salvation? Help me, a voice whispered, drawing her closer, closer still. She hesitated, breath catching in her throat. In that moment, 1,000 questions spun in her mind. What did she really want? What truly lay in wait beyond the veil? Just a heartbeat away? As Lisa pressed her hand on the console, the engine roared to life, drowning out her thoughts in a sea of noise. And just as the headlights flickered to life, illuminating the garage, a figure stood there, a silhouette framed in the washer-esque glare. She froze. Who was it? And what did it want? Her heart raced. The storm howled outside, but her fight had only just begun. Secrets that had lain buried for years were about to claw their way to the surface. But even as fear twisted in her gut, a flicker of determination ignited within her. What if facing this ghost was the key to her daughter's safety? She felt raw energy dance along her skin as the figure stepped closer, and with it, the truth began to ripple back towards her, pulling her into an abyss. Would she embrace the terror brewing within these walls, or would she turn and flee into the storm? And in that moment, the storm outside shattered into a frenzy. She had no choice but to find out. The dim light washed over the figure, revealing a woman, her face obscured by a mane of dark hair, matted and wild. Lisa's heart felt like it stopped. It was a face she knew, one that haunted her dreams, the mechanic's long-lost sister, missing for years, whispered about in town as if she were a ghost. Help me, the woman rasped, her voice barely audible, a thread of sound woven through the chaos of the storm. The figure took a trembling step forward, hands reaching toward Lisa, desperation etched into the hollow contours of her face. Lisa's pulse thundered in her ears. Was this a vision brought forth by fear, or something far more sinister? Mia is back there, she shouted, pointing helplessly toward the door. What do you want from me? The woman's dark eyes glinted with an unsettling mixture of sorrow and madness. You don't understand. Her voice trailed off, and a chill snaked down Lisa's spine as if icy fingers had brushed against her skin. Then tell me, Lisa screamed, a surge of terror pushing her adrenaline higher. She had to know. She stepped closer to the weak warmth of the headlights, gripping the Mustang's console tightly, as if it could ground her in this nightmare. Finish what he started. The woman's features twisted, pain flickering across her face, and then suddenly, she lunged. Her hands grabbed at the air as if to pull Lisa into an otherworldly embrace. Lisa recoiled, the instinct to flee overwhelming rational thought. She stumbled backward, the metal of the workbench biting into her back. "You're not real," she gasped, realizing that the madness in her head echoed the whispers all around her. What if she was just another victim in a long line of losses, a repeat of the tragic fate that consumed her family? The wind howled louder outside, almost mocking her as she remained paralyzed by fear. "You need to let go. Let me in," the apparition urged, her voice shadowed with a haunting echo. Shadows danced ever closer, morphing and slithering at the edges of the headlights. They pulsed with a life of their own, an energy that promised both danger and salvation. "Mia," Lisa called again, fear ripping through her as she turned toward the office door. The child remained vulnerable behind it, an innocent caught up in the storm that raged inside and out. "What do I do? Help me." The woman's voice was almost pleading now, pulling at the thin thread of empathy Lisa had left. "Why? What happened to you? Why should I trust you?" Panic threatened to consume her. Nothing made sense, and every breath was a bitter reminder of the horrors lurking just beyond her understanding. All at once, a blinding flash of lightning illuminated the garage, revealing more figures entwined in the shadows. Too many. Lisa's throat tightened, realization dawning that they weren't just hers to face. They belonged to the curse that had tainted her inheritance. In that moment, the pit of her stomach twisted dangerously. The choice lay before her: a leap into the unknown, to venture deeper into a world of torment and abandon, or safeguard Mia at all costs, even if it meant trusting a ghost. As the flickering light faded, she felt the grip of shadows tighten around her once more, urging her to step forward, to confront the past that had clawed so ruthlessly at her family. "Please," the woman begged, before it's too late. Just then, a crash erupted from the darkness behind the door, splintering the stillness like a pop of thunder. It wasn't wind, it was something far worse. Lisa's heart raced as she turned her gaze back to the door. What was happening to Mia? The storm was merely a cover, but from what? The uncertainty was unbearable. "Mom!" Mia's voice shrieked, piercing through the chaos and igniting a fire within Lisa like never before. "Hold on!" Lisa screamed, ripping her gaze from the wretched figures closing in. With one last glance toward the woman, she made her choice: a desperate leap forward into the unknown, ready to face whatever tormented evil lay behind that door and save her daughter from the haunting that threatened to consume them all. But was it truly a leap of faith, or a plunge into despair? Only time would tell. The door burst open, and the air exploded with a cacophony of screams and cracking wood. A figure loomed, shrouded in shadow, its eyes glinting like shards of glass, hungry for something or someone. Lisa froze, her breath hitching in her throat as she fought against the urge to retreat. "Mia!" she cried out, desperately scanning the darkness beyond the threshold. It was chaos inside. A small body flailed in the corner, throwing her toys around like confetti, her small face twisted in terror. "Mom! Help!" Mia's voice cut through Lisa's confusion like a knife. With a primal instinct driving her forward, Lisa charged into the office, every nerve alight with fear. There, crammed between stacks of outdated tires and a spilled bowl of tools, stood her daughter, arms raised as if trying to ward off the unseen terror that danced on the fringes of the dark. "Get away from her!" Lisa shouted, protective instincts surging. She swatted at the shadows as if she could disperse them with mere will. The apparition from the garage lingered at the door, yearning and haunting, but Lisa couldn't let herself falter. "Not now. Mia, run!" she commanded, forcing her voice to sound steady, even as her heart thundered. The child hesitated, still ensnared by the chaos swirling around them. Then, it flickered, a dark shape in the corner, coalescing for a heartbeat into something unmistakably ominous. A visage, a face twisted in agony. The mechanics of Lisa's south mind fell into place. The sister's words echoed painfully in her thoughts. Finish what he started. But what did that mean? Louder than the storm pounding against the building, the ghostly figure crudely smiled, and in that moment, Lisa's stomach twisted. As if sensing her terror, It lunged forward, a shriek rising in tandem with the cacophony from outside. Mia now? With a force born of desperation, Lisa grabbed her daughter and pulled her toward the safety of the garage. Every muscle screamed against her as the shadows closed in, trying to siphon their warmth, their hope. Outside, rain lashed against the windows, adding to the ominous rhythm pulsing around them. The garage would be the last barricade, the final hope against whatever dark ancestral power laid claim to their lives. "Mom, I'm scared," Mia whimpered, burying her face against Lisa's shoulder. The weight of the storm pressed down on them, an awful reminder of the reality encroaching around the edges of safety. "Me too," Lisa whispered, pushing the fear deep inside her. "But we have each other. We'll make it." But just as she uttered the words, the lights flickered ominously. Electric buzz crackled through the air, plunging them briefly into darkness. A heartbeat later, the headlights blazed back to life, illuminating the ghostly apparition, merging with more grotesque shapes spilling in from the door. "What do you want?" Lisa screamed, her voice spiraling into an abyss, desperate to understand whatever cruel purpose urged these souls to haunt her. "Finish what he started," it intoned, a chorus of voices swelling in a haunting symphony. And suddenly, the ground beneath her felt unsteady, as if it were alive, twisting with whispers of long-buried secrets. The shadows shuddered, dust swirling like a storm itself. They were pressing against her, as if trying to draw her toward them, into the heart of whatever had happened years ago. "Mom!" Mia shrieked again, pulling Lisa back to the now. Time was an enemy closing in like the storm outside. They had to escape. "Follow me, Mia." With her daughter's hand clutched tightly in her grasp, Lisa shoved through the chaos of the office, bracing for whatever loomed ahead. But the door slammed down behind them with a bang louder than the thunder, locking them in with the horror they tried to outrun. Just as dread washed over her, a familiar face appeared through the shadows, one with a wild mane of dark hair, eyes glistening with a primal hunger. "You must choose to embrace or to leave." Lisa felt her heart drop. Choices clawed at her mind, and time was their only ally, yet every moment spent within the walls echoed with the dreadful knowledge that the storm outside was now nothing compared to what lay in wait just beyond the horizons of their terrifying family legacy. What choice would she make? And most haunting of all, what did Mia truly mean to that terrible past? Time was indeed running out. The shadows shifted violently, a whirlpool of darkness alive with desperate whispers. Lisa's heart pounded as she pulled Mia closer, her daughter's small body trembling against her. Fear clung to them like the clammy air thickening in the garage. It filled her lungs, making breathing a struggle, as if the darkness were tightening its grip around their throats. Suddenly, another flicker of light surged, illuminating the terrifying figures surrounding them. Lines of their half-formed faces glistened with malicious intent, eyes hollow and incomprehensible. They pressed in, forming a circle that seethed with anger. "Finish what he started," the voices echoed, bouncing off the walls like a taunt, an invitation to a game she never volunteered to play. "Mia, stay close," Lisa barked, her protective instincts igniting anew. The words tasted bitter on her tongue, but retreat was not an option. The specters, shifting and swirling, extended pale fingers as if to reach out, to draw them in, to consume them. "Choose. Choose." The figures harmonized, creating an oppressive symphony of dread. Shadows danced grotesquely, merging into an expanding darkness that pulsed like a heartbeat, quickening, tightening. "Mom, what do they want?" Mia whimpered, eyes wide, shining like mortared glass in the bleak light. "I don't know, honey. I don't know." The truth gripped Lisa's heart, a vice threatening to crush her resolve. A part of her was terrified. Terrified of the past she couldn't escape, a truth she didn't understand, a family legacy forged in pain and despair. "Finish it, before it finishes you," the shadowy faces whispered, some revealing their features only to twist back into nothing. As they threatened to engulf the duo, Lisa felt a surge of anger. These were not just apparitions. They were echoes of a history that had plagued her family. Something had to be confronted. "Enough," she shouted, startling Mia. "I refuse to be scared by you. You can't dictate our lives any longer." She didn't know where the words poured from, but the surge of defiance filled her with a flicker of confidence. The shrieks crescendoed, a cacophony fueled by rage. The shadows pulsed with each word, flickering, hesitant. In that moment, Lisa turned, gripping Mia's hand even tighter. "Let us go." Together, they ran toward the back of the garage, which led to a small door that Lisa had often overlooked, a forgotten place trailing off into deeper shadows. The moment they reached it, the shadows hesitated, coiling backward as if unsure. The door creaked open, revealing a darkened alley that led out to the back of their home. Lisa hesitated, eyes darting back to the horrific faces still clawing for her. "Mia, we have to jump." "But it's dark." Mia's voice trembled, fear written across her innocent features. "We have no choice," Lisa urged fiercely, knowing the darkness closing in behind them was far worse. With a frantic nod, they plunged through the threshold into the unknown, landing hard on gravel. The air was cool and sharp, yet behind them, the door slammed shut with a finality that echoed in the stillness. Panting, Lisa looked back, her heart racing. Had they escaped? Were the horrors finally behind them? But as she turned, the shadows seemed to undulate and shift against the dim light of the moon. They lingered at the edges, waiting, plotting. "Mom, are we safe?" Mia's innocent plea brought Lisa back to the moment. "Not yet, but we will be," she said, forcing the fear down again. The cycle would not repeat. She wouldn't allow it. But in the distant silence, a low growl rumbled, vibrating through the air like the dark promise of a storm yet to come. "Lisa," the wind whispered, chilling her to the bone. A sinister purr laced with laughter as she began to lead Mia further. The shape of a familiar car loomed out from behind a veil of fog. It wasn't just any car, this was their father's car. The realization gripped her like ice. Mia tugged on her sleeve, her eyes wide. "What's wrong?" Lisa felt the oppressive weight of dread tighten around her. "Mia," her voice barely broke the air. "Do you think he came back for us?" The haunting question settled between them, wrapping around their hearts like the ominous chill in the wind, leaving uncertainty and palpable dread. And just then, a figure emerged from the shadows, eyes glinting like glass once more. What he started must be finished, it hissed, a dark promise that sent shudders through Lisa's spine. What were they being pulled back into? The cycle had begun again, shifting like the shadows, threatening to consume them whole. Lisa's mind raced as she stood before the bloody door to their family's curse. What awaited them inside? The moment Lisa's eyes fell on the figure stepping out from the shadows, a frigid wave of recognition crashed over her. It was him, her father, face gaunt, eyes sunken, yet entirely aware. A twisted smile crossed his lips, filled with shadows of the past. "Dad." Mia's voice trembled, innocent and unguarded. "No, get back." Lisa yanked Mia behind her, instinct screaming at her to protect her child. But the figure only laughed, a haunting sound that echoed off the walls of their quiet street, making the night feel even colder. "He is not who you think he is, Mia." Lisa forced herself to sound strong, but inside, her heart raced like it had when she faced the ghosts in the garage. The confusion from Mia's startled eyes twisted like a knife in her gut. "Come back." He beckoned, hands gesturing like an artist inviting admiration for a masterpiece. "You need to understand. It's all part of the plan." "No plans. No more." Lisa yelled, stepping forward, her own voice an unfamiliar roar against the cold night air. "You don't control us. Not anymore." With every word, the shadowy niggle of doubt pricked at Lisa's mind. Had he always been a monster, or had life and fear twisted him into this thing? "Stop fighting," he said, the smile broadening. "It's pointless. You can't escape what you are, a part of this family. This legacy." A chill shot through Lisa at the word legacy, thick and bitter. It was what haunted her, what drove her to escape her origins in the first place. Ghosts didn't hold sway over people, blood did. And she felt it coursing through her veins, a darkness she always feared. "Mom," Mia whispered, clinging to her leg, looking up at her with eyes that begged for reassurance. "We're leaving," Lisa commanded, but her insides quaked. What if the darkness had already seeped into Mia? If the seed of the family curse had planted itself within her daughter's innocent heart? No. The figure exploded with fury, eyes narrowing, revealing nothing but obsidian depths. "You can't escape your birthright. You have to finish what was started." The ground beneath them seemed to tremble, as if the earth itself shook with his voice. Panic bubbled in Lisa's chest as she turned to run, dragging Mia with her. "Run!" she shouted, leading her into the mist, heart pounding like a war drum. They dashed down the alley, where the dim light from street lamps barely cut through the creeping shadows. Yet the shadows stirred again, fuming with rage and anguish. Lisa could hear them muttering amongst themselves, vibrating with a dreadful energy. Mistakes repeat. What does that even mean? Lisa gasped as they rounded the corner. "I don't know. What does he want, Mom?" Mia cried, tears streaking down her pale cheeks. The figure appeared in front of them, seemingly conjured from thin air, blocking their escape. "You must choose. Join him or face the truth of your bloodline." "No," Lisa shouted, but the truth clung to her, biting hard. The weight of inevitability pressed on her shoulders. The fight against the shadows felt more arduous with every passing second, every heartbeat a countdown to darkness. "Will you try and break free?" he continued, an unsettling calm in his voice. "Or will you fail like the others?" Lisa's chest tightened. What others? Who had come before? Had she unwittingly walked into a trap laid decades ago? "Mom, please," Mia whimpered, eyes wide with fear. With sheer instinct, Lisa reached into her pocket. The amulet her mother had given her clutched tightly in her palm, the one that pulsed with energy whenever shadows walked too close. But with a rush of memories, she realized it wasn't enough. It had never truly protected them, but maybe she could change it. "We can break this cycle, Mia. We can change it," she barely whispered, the words suddenly feeling like life rafts thrown in stormy seas. "What are you talking about? Just trust me." Lisa cast a desperate glance at the figure, whose smile had turned into a sneer, a knowing expression that chilled her blood. And in that moment, a high-pitched shriek ripped through the night, cutting through the tension like a knife. The shadows wailed, and Lisa felt their fear radiating, their frail hold on her shrinking. Did she dare recap the past? "Step into the light," she shouted, the amulet glowing vehemently, surging with hope and power. But would it be enough? As the shadows closed in, a deeper darkness surged forth. Mistakes, the figure grinned, the essence of all he represented creeping close again. Must be paid for. In that heartbeat, Lisa steadied herself, heart racing. She wasn't ready to let fear define them. Not anymore. "Together, Mia. Now," she shouted, a semblance of readiness blooming amidst the chaos. And from the depths of despair, the echoes of choice awaited them. Would they break the curse, or would they become just another layer in the darkness? A shriek answered back, teasing the edges of certainty. Only one thing was clear: they were nowhere near done yet. Mistakes must be paid for. The figure's voice echoed, a dark melody woven into the shadows that lunged closer, tendrils reaching like clawed fingers. Lisa felt the icy grip of fear clawing at her throat. The amulet pulsed violently in her palm, a heartbeat of defiance against the encroaching darkness. But doubt crept in like a fog, clouding her resolve. Could this truly be the moment she would break the cycle, or was it just another illusion trailing her family's legacy? "Mom, please," Mia cried again, each plea a desperate wail that twisted Lisa's gut. "Stay close," Lisa barked, tugging Mia to her side. The shadows hissed, their whispers a cacophony of torment. "Run, join him, no more," she shouted back, fury igniting within her. "We choose our own path." With steely conviction, she thrust the amulet forward, the light intensifying to cut through the shrouded night. The shadows recoiled, their forms dissipating, yet the figure remained unfazed, his grin widening. "Oh, how naive," he mocked, stepping just outside the blinding light, a silhouette composed of every nightmare she had ever run from. "You don't even know what you're up against." The words hung in the air, heavy with implications. Lisa could feel them curling around her, knotting her stomach. "What do you mean?" His laughter pierced through the night, infectious and chilling. "You think this is new? That you can change the past? The weight of blood is eternal. Look around." As he gestured, the shadows writhed, morphing into phantoms of Lisa's ancestors, faces twisted in despair. She recognized them, relatives lost to time, shadows of pain that filled the void left by their departure. They weren't merely spirits. They were prisoners of a curse that had already shackled them long before she was born. "Run, Mom. They're coming for us." Mia tugged at her hand, wide-eyed with terror as figures surged from the edges of the dark. Flashes of anguish and sorrow were captured in their cries, almost drowning out the sinister mirth of her father. "Listen to your daughter," the figure spat, his voice now layered with the voices of the lost, chorus upon chorus of sorrow. "You're not here to escape, you're here to join them." Lisa swallowed hard, her breath hitching in her throat. Each flicker of the shadows felt like it was stalking them, whispering secrets of anguish. "Mia, we need to move." She threw her arm around the little girl, pulling her close, and bolted down the alley, the amulet still glowing fiercely like a small sun. Mistakes repeat. The figures cried, rising like a tempest, and with them came the scent of decay, a tangible reminder of fates entwined. Lisa stumbled, her heart racing, the frigid air biting at her skin. The bonds of blood, of legacy, how could she break free of that which had imprisoned generations? "We are more than this," she shouted out into the night, adrift on a sea of desperation. The shadows shrieked, swirling, hungry for her despair. The echo of their torment soon felt like a heartbeat, synchronizing with the pounding in Lisa's chest until she nearly couldn't distinguish them from her own. "Mom, I'm scared." Mia's voice trembled, wrenching at Lisa's heart. Turning to her daughter, she saw the reflection of her own fear manifest in the child's eyes, the very thing she swore to fight against. "Hold on to me," Lisa pleaded, desperation thickening her voice. She could not lose Mia to this darkness. "Not now. We will fight together." But as they turned to flee, a shadow broke away, darting toward them with a speed that stole Lisa's breath. It lunged forward, rushing past the light, and Lisa felt something wrap around her ankle, a chilling embrace attempting to pull her down into the abyss. "No, no. Mia, keep running," Lisa screamed, trying to shake it off, her heart pounding, the darkness threatening to claim her. But just as swiftly as it came, the grip loosened, and the world around them flickered, before plunging into an overwhelming silence. Suddenly, the light from the amulet flickered and died, plunging them into darkness. Panic surged through Lisa, a primal scream clawing at her throat. They were not alone. A dull whisper filled the air, low and sinister. "Mistakes repeat," echoed through the shadows again. What would Mia see next? Was the darkness finally taking its toll, or could they find a way to navigate through to the light once more? With no choice left, Lisa steeled herself against the rising dread, gripping Mia's hand tighter. "Together, right now?" she whispered. But as the shadows breathed around them, she couldn't shake the feeling that they were only moments away from discovering a deeper, horrifying truth about the legacy that bound them. Would the very act of running lead them back to the heart of the nightmare? Or was there still a glimmer of hope, waiting in the dark? Everything was silent. Not a single sound, not even the slightest rustle. Lisa stood frozen, the grip on Mia's hand tightening unconsciously, her breath shallow and quick. She could feel the dark around them, a living force, inches away, waiting, biding its time. Mama Mia's voice trembled, breaking the silence like glass shattering. The shadows felt heavier, thick like fog, crawling into Lisa's mind. Dread coiled tightly in her chest. "Don't look back," Lisa whispered, trying to drown out the whispers that seemed to materialize from every dark corner of her thoughts. "We have to keep moving." But where? In the absence of light, they were blind, and the shadows had a clear advantage. Each step echoed like a war drum in her ears, each footfall heavy with dread. An unexpected noise sliced through the stillness like the scraping of claws on pavement. Lisa felt bile rise in her throat. "Mia, we have to go now." She turned, scanning the darkness, her heart racing, the shadows pulsing as if alive. Suddenly, a shriek pierced the air, a high-pitched wail that echoed through the corridor, freezing Lisa in her tracks. The shadows hissed, responding to the cry, pulling tighter around them. "You cannot escape. You must pay for their mistakes." The words sent chills cascading down her spine. Those terrible accusations hung in the air like smoke, oppressive and heavy. She had thought of sacrifice, of blame, but could it be true? Was she really meant to endure this? The inherited horrors carved deep into her soul? "Mama!" Mia cried again, her tiny voice cracking. Lisa turned to find her daughter shaking, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I don't want to see them. I don't want to be like them." Lisa knelt, drawing the quivering child into her arms. You 1T. You're not them. We will break this curse. Together. But even as she spoke, uncertainty gnawed at her. Could she really save Mia when darkness clawed for their very souls? As if summoned by her doubts, the shadowed figure reappeared. He moved like smoke wreathed in malice, his eyes burning in the dark, piercing her with a gaze that felt like ice. Your resolve is admirable, but futile. Your lineage owns you, and through it, they will crush this hope. Shut up, Lisa screamed, her voice echoing through the silence, filled with defiance. But a darkness deeper than despair clawed at her heart. We are not bound by your chains. Ah, but you are, he sneered, stepping forward, blending into the shadows. This is merely the beginning, Sarah, the next step towards the truth locked deep within your blood. With that, the shadows crawled closer. They stretched, elongating like monstrous hands, hungry and eager. Lisa felt dread fill her bones, a terror that chilled her to the core. There was nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. They were engulfed. Mama! Mia screamed, but it was too late. The walls felt tighter, closing an inch by agonizing inch. In a last desperate attempt, Lisa thrust the amulet forward, its faint glow barely holding back the creeping dark. Power surged, a flicker of light battling against the relentless tide. But for how long? The shadows twisted painfully, writhing as they clawed at the edges of their light. Mistakes were made, the figure chanted, his laughter echoing around them, mocking. Could she hold on? Would the light endure? Or were they bound to succumb to the horrors that lurked in the whispers of the ancients? Desperation clawed at her mind, igniting a fire of hope that flickered with every pulse of the amulet. But the truth awaited them, a truth buried in the ashes of her family's past, a truth she had yet to understand. Suddenly, the light flickered, eroding like sand slipping through fingers. Just when it seemed darkness would claim them entirely, Lisa shouted, "Break the cycle." It reverberated through the void, her voice a defiant promise against the shadows, against the grief whispering lies. But what awaited them beyond the veil of darkness? The weight of generations loomed as she braced for impact. What grisly twist would the legacy reveal? The darkness throbbed in anticipation, ready to share its dark secrets. The shadows flared momentarily as Lisa called out, the amulet glowing fiercely in her trembling grip. It illuminated the darkness like a flickering candle in a tempest, but Lisa knew even that small light was not enough. She could sense the sinister figure lurking just beyond its reach, waiting for the right moment to strike. "Mama, I'm scared." Mia's tiny voice echoed in the empty void, filling Lisa with an overwhelming sense of dread. The child clung fiercely to her, and for a moment, Lisa could feel the weight of their shared terror, binding them closer together as darkness writhed around them. "Stay close to me," she whispered, her voice trembling. Fighting against the fear threatening to choke her, she took a step forward, then another. The grasp of the shadows felt almost like cold fingers prying at her back. "Fleeing 1T change your fate, Lisa," the figure crowed, his voice slithering through the air as he moved with terrifying ease. Lisa couldn't see his face clearly, but she could feel his disdain filling the air like poison. "You will learn what it means to carry their sins. Your blood cries out for justice." "Justice?" Lisa spat, her heart racing. "This isn't justice. This is revenge." The shadows hissed in agreement, swirling around her legs like a living entity eager to consume. With a fierce determination, she thrust the amulet forward again. "We break those chains today?" But the shadows surged a wave of darkness, forcing her back. Panic tightened its grip on her thoughts. "Mia, don't let go." The little girl whimpered, her small fingers shaking. "I want tea, Mama, I promise." They pressed on, inching deeper into the suffocating darkness. Each step made Lisa acutely aware of the chilling tendrils creeping closer. Each step echoed with biting fear clawing at her sanity. The shadows loomed, eager to drag them into their eternal depths. Suddenly, a piercing screech shattered the air, a sound that rippled through the very fabric of the night. It reverberated through her bones, making Lisa drop the amulet in terror. The light flickered crazily before sputtering out, leaving them in pitch-black silence. "Mama!" Mia's voice broke, a thin wail buried in the abyss, and it cut deep into Lisa's heart. "Where are you?" The shadows seemed to pulse at the sound, pulling tighter, breathing in their fear. Lisa bent low, frantically scrambling in the dark for the amulet. Fingers brushed against cold, smooth metal. She clasped it tightly, her heartbeat quickening. The darkness swirled, and suddenly, she saw them 100 flickering faces, twisted in agony, emerging from the shadows, glaring out at her with hollow eyes filled with ancient sorrow. "You are bound to us," they wailed as one, their voices a cacophony that filled the chamber with despair. "No," Lisa screamed, fighting against their irrefutable power. "I'm breaking free. We're not your vessels anymore." Desperate, she breathed deeply and summoned whatever strength she had left. Raising the amulet high, she cried out the words she had always feared. "I reject your legacy." The shadows recoiled, shrieking in protest, and Lisa felt their strength weakening. She could sense the pull of her own bloodline, aching to reclaim her, but she stood firm. "Mama!" Mia's voice rose in panic, somehow both far away and painfully close. "Hold on," Lisa shouted back, the flicker of defiance igniting in her spirit. In that moment, the shadows shrieked once more, a banshee wail that clawed at their sanity, and she felt the ground beneath shift, threatening to pull them into some maddening abyss. Lisa squeezed her eyes shut, praying for strength, praying for survival. But then, like an echo from her past, a voice whispered to her through the tumult. "Look for the truth." It cut through the cacophony, resonating in her mind. The weight of generations pressed hard on her, but Lisa's intuition flared. Slowly, she opened her eyes. The shadows seemed to hesitate, waiting for her next move. What truth awaited her in the darkness? What final betrayal was about to surface? Face the past, and the chains will break. The echo grew louder, lending her resolve. But would it be enough to free them from the horror that hungered to consume them whole? The answer lingered, elusive and taunting, as the shadows danced hungrily around them, poised to strike once more. Would she unlock the hidden horror lying beneath, or were they forever marked by their family's dark legacy? The void pulsed with anticipation, shadows writhing at the edges of Lisa's vision, an endless night infused with stories of the haunted past. Clutching Mia as tightly as she could, a flicker of instinct ignited within her. She steadied herself, the tremors of fear echoing in her chest, clashing with determination. She had drawn a line in the sand. This war of darkness claiming her and her daughter would not end here. "I reject your legacy," she shouted again, finding strength in the words that echoed through the oppressive dark. The shadows rippled like disturbed water, their taunting whispers filtering through her resolve. "You think you can escape this? You are our kin." She needed to do more. No longer bound by the chains of the past, she whipped the amulet above her head as though it were a beacon against the encroaching night. "I will face the truth. Bring it on." A high-pitched wail erupted from the depths of the shadows, reverberating with rage and sorrow. Faces twisted into anguish, writhing closer, a sinister vortex luring them in. Mistakes were made. They howled in unison, the guttural desperation tinged with a malefic fascination. How could they be so united in pain, yet wanting to inflict it? "Mom, please," Mia pleaded, her voice quivering, threaded with fear. Lisa knelt, pulling her child into her arms, rocking her slightly. "I know, sweetheart, focus on my voice. Just breathe." The darkness hesitated, as if recognizing the power of their connection. Lisa's heart raced. She had to dig deeper. "What do you want from us?" she demanded, her voice, despite trembling, crackling with bravery. The shadows hushed slightly, their energy shifted. "It is not what we want, but what you must do," the figure murmured hauntingly, stepping forward. His features solidified, gaunt and tormented. The features mirrored her torment from a lifetime ago. To move forward, one must embrace their truth. Uncertainty prickled at her. Truth? What truth lay buried in the broken heart of this legacy? But within her gut, she sensed the thread that would lead her out of this nightmare. What truth? She pressed, a lump swelling in her throat. "In confronting what has been, you shall find the key." Lisa shuddered under the weight of the knowledge, the bloodline she had fought to break free from. It was time to reclaim her story. "I'm done hiding," she screamed into the void, every ounce of her being vibrating with defiance. And then, like a rush of wind, she saw it, the image of the family garage from her childhood, the tools strewn about, the scent of oil filling the air. Deep within, the lost mechanic, the sister, the father caught in a web of pain. You're stuck inside a loop. This belongs to you, but not to me. The shadows shrieked painfully, twisting and morphing as if the fabric of their existence frayed before her eyes. You will repeat the mistakes, they cried, fury illuminating their features beneath the flickering light of the amulet. Say it, Lisa barked, with newfound strength. I am not my past. The shadows cried out again, retreating slightly, hesitation edging into their despair. Mother's tears, sister's screams, they call for you. The figure hissed. But Lisa stepped forward, a warrior against the past. Memories flooded her. The pain, the loss, but now, she reconciled them. She would not let their darkness consume her anymore. I forgive you all. The shadows recoiled as if struck physically. In that moment of fervor, Lisa felt a power surge through her redemption. It wrapped around Mia, molding their inseparable bond into a shield. We are the future, unbound. Your sins do not define us. In a blinding flash, the amulet's light exploded into brilliance, forcing the shadows to scatter like smoke in a fierce wind. Echoes of loss ricocheted around them in a symphony of cries. A purging of agony built up over generations. They were breaking free. The irrefutable grip of the past lost its power. As Lisa and Mia stood at the epicenter of the collapse, she concentrated, pushing back against what remained of the figure, emitting blinding light, radiating warmth. This ends now. With a final scream, shadows sputtered and fell, disintegrating into tendrils of ashen memory. Lisa clutched Mia tighter, the light enveloping them in a breathtaking glow, freeing them from the curse that had held her family captive. As the chaotic night transformed around them, the storm dissipated into a cool whisper. The chilling shadows evaporated, revealing moonlight trickling in through the gaps of a garage door still standing, but no longer haunted. The garage was now a mere echo of what it once was. But as Lisa surveyed the transformed space, there was no dread, just clarity. It's over, she whispered, voice laced with relief. Mama, are we safe? Mia asked, her voice small yet buoyed with hope. Lisa knelt to meet her daughter's eyes. We are safe. This is a new beginning. They breathed together, a deep breath of life, of promise before lifting their heads to face the future. Together, they left the remnants behind, hand in hand, stepping into the light that promised a new chapter. The weight of their legacy shattered. Now it was time for closure. Now it was nothing but them, a true start. You need to subscribe now. Don't miss the next exclusive stories, so subscribe immediately. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm. This is the moment to show your support. Flood the comments with your reactions and theories about this epic conclusion. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Let us spread the word and break those chains together.